Thank you Storyblocks for making this video possible. What's cooking, everybody? Dave Mays here with Kinotika. We're in Hawaii talking about the new A6400. Connor and I were fortunate enough to be invited by Sony to this private event at this amazing tropical island. I got this lei here, Aloha, from Hawaii, the only tropical island in America.
That's the fact, Jack!
So Sony has given us this new A6400 for the day, and we're going to be doing as many tests as we can. We did ask you guys to give us comments on what you want to see, so we're going to try to address all those questions that you have about the new A6400. The Sony A6400 comes in at $898 body only, and it's sporting the same 24.2 megapixel sensor that's in the previous A63 and 6500 cameras. The big difference, however, is a totally new color science with the 6400. In addition to improved color science, which we will talk about later, is an improvement of the battery life. Even though this camera is using the same batteries that we're used to with the 63 and 6500, it's actually much better on this camera, and that is a welcome addition. Something new that Sony is really boasting is the new processor inside of the 6400, the Bions X or Bion, I don't know. We're gonna put it right here. That's what it is. It's a new processor. It allows for AI of the autofocus system on this camera, which is insane. The AI technology of this camera is actually able to ascertain what a human face and a human body is. In addition to human tracking, it's actually able to track animals' faces, which is great for wildlife photographers especially. There's 425 phase detect and contrast detect autofocus points on this camera, and the autofocus performance on the 6400 is really where this thing shines. It's greatly improved from the 63 and 6500s and even the A7 III, which will hopefully be getting a firmware update soon. There's a lot more to talk about this camera for photo and video, but before we get to that, let's hear a word from our sponsor today, Storyblocks. Often when making videos, you find yourself low on footage. Sometimes things just didn't turn out the way you wanted. You didn't get the B-roll you needed, and it would waste way too much of your time and money to go back and reshoot stuff. That is where Storyblocks comes in. With their amazing stock footage, you are able to make people believe you are in Hawaii without ever going there. Most stock footage sites charge an arm and a leg per clip you use, but with Storyblocks you can just pay a base subscription and download all the videos you want. If you want to see this for yourself, then click the first link down below in the description. Thank you Storyblocks for making this video possible. The video performance on this camera is really great, but it also takes photos, so let's briefly talk about the photography features of this camera. Like I said earlier, this is sharing the same sensor from the previous cameras, but with the new processing and the color science, you're getting much better results. Unfortunately, Lightroom and Photoshop haven't updated to allow us to view the raw images, so every image that you're seeing here was taken in JPEG, but you can see that improved color science. The tracking autofocus on the 6400 is amazing, especially with the eye detect feature turned on. When you're taking portraits of people, the eyeball is actually where you want your focus point to be, especially when you're shooting at a really shallow depth of field. So having the ability to track your eye using the AI assisted autofocus on the 6400 is fantastic. The 6400 shares the same EVF that we've seen in the previous models with a 2.36 million dot OLED EVF. With the 6400, we also get this cute little flash here. It's not very good. It's the same one that we've seen with the older cameras. It's there, it works, but you're not going to be winning a Pulitzer for photography using this flash. Sony is really marketing this camera as a vlogging camera, but having the flip up display is really great for selfies.
But first, let me take a selfie.
In fact, in a way, I would actually say this is a better camera for photos, especially if you're taking selfies. Because this camera doesn't have IBIS, it's not the best for video because of the rolling shutter, which leads me to video. Unfortunately, this camera does not have stabilization on the sensor. It's one of the things that I really wish I could add to this camera because it desperately needs it. The A6500, which is an older camera, actually already has stabilization on the sensor. And you really need this stabilization because the rolling shutter on this camera is awful. It is so bad when you're shooting 4K in particular. When you switch over to 1080p, however, the rolling shutter is much more manageable. The problem with this camera is the fact that they're marketing it as a vlogging camera that can shoot 4K because of that flip-up display. It's a welcome addition to have the flip-up display, but because the 4K rolling shutter is so bad, when you are actually vlogging with this camera, everything behind you is just jiggling and wiggling like crazy. That might be me being a little bit too nitpicky, but hey, I'm nitpicky. This is a review channel, I'm gonna be nitpicky. The 4K image quality on the 6400 is amazing because of the 6K to 4K down res that this camera can do. There's nothing new here with that. The 6300 and the 6500 both did the exact same thing, but again, with the improved color science, it's even better than before. Having amazing 4K image quality is one thing, but if the image is out of focus, then you're completely screwed. That's where this camera crushes it again with the AI-assisted autofocus.
Jarvis, you there?
At your service, sir.
The autofocus system in this camera is so good, it's actually competing really closely to the Canon dual pixel autofocus that has been the king of video autofocus for so long. If you would like to see a comparison of the autofocus system, then check out our video that we did in the eye icon above or the description below. When you look at the 63 and 6500 cameras, the autofocus system was very good, but it was lacking something that I desperately wanted. That is autofocus tracking modes, and this camera finally has it. Not only can you track subjects automatically, but you can use the touchscreen to select exactly what you want to be in focus, and the camera uses that AI technology to track your subject. In addition to the touchability and the tracking, we also have a very natural autofocus look with video. It's smooth and doesn't create any weird jittery effects. Another area where the A6400 really excels is actually in live streaming. Having the flip up display alone is a huge advantage, but in addition to that, we also have the ability to get a clean HDMI out, and that's obviously what you want when you're doing a live stream. The other thing that makes this camera great for live streaming is the fact that you can take a USB micro cable and plug it straight into the USB port and power it using that USB. Another feature that I think is real important for video shooters is the fact that this camera has no record limit. An unlimited record time is great, but what if the camera overheats like the 63 and 6500s? Well, that's no problem anymore with the 6400. We're not seeing any overheating issues with this camera. Sony finally put time-lapse back into their cameras, which is really weird because the older cameras, you were able to have time-lapse using the Play Memory store, but it's really nice to see that they've added time-lapse back to the camera. When it comes to frame rates on the 6400, not much has changed from the previous models. We get the ability to shoot 4K at 24 and 30 frames per second, with the 30 frame per second mode in particular having a slight crop to that image. Unfortunately, there's no 4K 60 on this camera. Hopefully with a newer A7000, which is rumored to come out, we'll see 4K 60 on a camera of this size. As soon as you switch over to 1080p, you get much more flexibility with the frame rates. You can shoot 24, 30, and 60 frames per second with the 60 frame per second mode looking really good. And for slow motion, we have the ability to shoot up to 120 frames per second in 1080p. Some cameras, when you switch to 120p, have some issues with autofocus or they just remove it completely. This camera has the ability to do autofocus, but it's not the same tracking that we're used to with the main video modes. You're basically able to touch the screen and spot focus on certain things, and then it kind of just stays locked, and that's kind of a shame. Like I mentioned earlier, this camera also has a clean HDMI out. Now that HDMI out is also giving us the ability to record ProRes using an Atomos recorder, for example. In addition to all the other things I've listed, this camera also gives us the new HLG profile on the A6400. What are you thinking about this thing, Levi? Is it a legitimate vlogging setup? What do you think? It looks nice. Look at that. Look at that.
If I was just getting started on YouTube, this is probably the camera that I would use and also recommend for others.
Yeah.
It feels like most of the cameras on the market right now are either good at autofocus or good at seeing what you're filming.
Yeah.
And this is kind of the first one in the sub $1,000 market that does both.
Yep. It's got 4K.
4K, you can see your image, so you can actually make sure you're recording.
Yep.
You can make great images with the current mirrorless cameras that don't have flip screens.
It's true.
But it's an extra level of work, and some of your stuff just turns out like crap where you weren't recording.
Yeah, and by the way, guys, we are actually in a Hummer right now, going up a mountain with Levi Allen. This is a dream come true. So I was really looking forward to getting some dinner, but then Levi had to be all cinematographer and get some shots here in the dirt. I'm hungry, I'm angry.
Food is for the weak!
So that about does it with our first look of the new Sony a6400. I'm really excited about it. Thank you, Sony, for bringing us here to fabulous Hawaii. We're on Honolulu. Unbelievable experience here with a bunch of...
Dave,
what?
we're not in Hawaii. We're in California. You can literally see Long Beach right there.
But I got laid.
No, I saw you carry that in your bag.
Anyways, guys, hope you enjoyed this video. If you love Levi Allen, subscribe to his channel, link below. And yeah.
Leave a comment in the description.
Give us a thumbs up, subscribe, enable the bell notification. Once again, I'm Dave Mays. This is Levi Allen. See you next time. We hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you didn't realize, this actually was shot over a period of time. We're not in Hawaii. We're not even in Catalina. In fact, you can maybe even see Catalina behind me here. We're in Laguna. We only had like 2 or 3 hours at Catalina with the Sony event, so we weren't able to shoot our full review. This is our full review. Hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you're subscribed. Bye. All right, there you go.